Garden Coordinator at Logos Public Charter School, and this episode of Outside Every Day, brought to you by SOREEL and Logos Charter School, is supposed to help you connect to nature every day. So I hope that you enjoy this episode. This is the third episode in our Logos Garden Gazette series, where I'm going to be showing the Logos Garden and what we do to grow plants from seed. Today we are actually going to investigate those seedlings that we planted last week, and I will teach you what to do after they start germinating. So let's go outside. Because I planted some seeds about a month ago in this bed here. I planted radishes, beets, and carrots. And so this is a great way for me to show you what the seedlings will look like after about a month of growth. And then I'm going to teach you some techniques on how to make sure that they flourish the best. All right, so what you're looking at right now is our radish seedlings. And as a gardener, one of your biggest gifts is the gift of time and observation for you to really see your plants grow. And what better time than now in your home to look at your seedlings. So what we're gonna do right now is we're gonna take a moment to draw what we're seeing in our garden bed. Maybe it's just a little tiny sprout coming up in the ground like this one, or maybe it's a whole entire plant where you can really get down and dirty and look at the leaves and how they're shaped. So I wanted to point something out real quick before we do our drawing, and that is to observe the difference between the two kinds of leaves that you're seeing on these radish seedlings. One of them looks kind of rounded, like a heart-shaped, and the other one is more jagged on the edges, and it's definitely a lot thicker and more wrinkled. So you're probably wondering why? Why do these radish seedlings have two different kinds of seeds? Well, how cool is this? So these leaves were actually the first ones to come out of the seed. And the radish seeds were not that big, but look at this huge leaf that came out. And that leaf is what we call the first leaf. And this leaf is the first leaf to start getting sunshine to make food for our radish plant. And then these are what we call the second leaves, or the first true leaves. And so this is what the radish leaves will generally look like throughout their life. So what we're gonna do right now is I'm gonna give you some time to observe and draw your radish seedlings or whatever you have in your garden, and really take notice of if you see a first leaf, if you see a second leaf, and we will catch up in a moment. Drawing, but who cares? This is your garden journal. You can do whatever you want with it. So you can see that I kind of used different colors to represent what I was seeing, and I even found a mystery plant that I do not know how it got in my garden because it does not look like the carrots that were supposed to be there. I thought that this is a rogue seed that got into my compost, but I drew it anyway. It was kind of fun. So you remember what I said about your gift of time? Well, this is kind of cool. So I can use my journal to document the growth of my garden throughout the season. So I put the date, April 13th, on my journal to make sure that when I came back a week or two later and did another drawing, I could really see the difference between my two plants.
Now Miss Katie is going to tell us all about thinning, which means pulling out seedlings that are growing too close together so that only the strongest plant can grow.
All right, you just need one tool to help you with this task, and it's a pair of normal scissors. So I'm gonna look at this patch of beets right here. I'm gonna count the amount of little plants there are here. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe even 6 different beet seeds that got all germinated in this one spot. So I'm gonna only pick one to keep. The rest I can either pull out, cut off with my scissors, or just eat right on the spot. So let's see. I think this one looks the strongest because it looks like it has its second set of leaves already formed. You can see this one right here, I don't know if you can in the video, has more wrinkled outside, so I know that that's the second set of leaves. So I'm just gonna go in with my scissors and I'm gonna carefully cut off the leaves of the competing plants and leave my triumphant beet plant to live. So also, why would I leave the roots of the competing plants in there? Well, I don't want to disturb the soil too much because there are some really helpful insects and other critters, bacteria that are living in the soil right now that are helping my plants to grow. So I don't want to disturb the soil too much, and those roots will actually help them grow. You can also eat your thinned seedlings. People pay a lot of money for microgreens, so that's kind of cool. Yum! Those beet greens are delicious. You can also press them in a book to keep and compare with future seed thinning exercises that you do. And make sure you always leave the healthiest plant to grow. Alright, so while you're doing your thinning, you might also come across some plants that maybe you didn't plant in your garden. They either got brought there by wind, or they were already in your compost. Maybe you'll find a rogue pumpkin seed or a tomato from last year, but you might want to pull those out because they might be crowding out the plants you want to live. So for instance, this is a brand new patch of strawberries. You can see there's some strawberries here and kind of throughout this area here. This does not look like a strawberry to me. I mean, when it first starts growing, you might think it might be a strawberry, but it's not. So what is a weed? That's actually kind of, in my opinion, philosophical question. A weed is actually just a plant that you don't want to grow in your garden. So there might be some weeds that are not beneficial to your garden, but there might be some that are beneficial. Like, did you know that dandelions are some of the first foraging flowers for bees when they first come out from the winter time into the spring? So you always want to leave your dandelions in your yard. So I'm going to pull out this plant here because I want to give my strawberries plenty of room to grow. You can utilize your hands, a trowel, or this is actually a weeding tool. And I want to, as I said before, leave as much soil in there as possible. And what do I do with this weed? If you have a compost bin, you can compost it. I'm actually just going to leave it right in my bed because as it decomposes and our beneficial insects get to it, it's going to add the nutrients right back into the soil. It'll also keep the beds nice and moist and cool, which will really help me in the summer in our hot Southern Oregon summers. You can also cover your beds with leaves or other crops that and other composting. You can compost actually in your bed, which will maintain the best health for your plants and making sure that they can grow really tall. Thanks for joining me today in the Logos Community Garden. Thank you for drawing with me, and remember to use your gift of time to really observe your garden throughout the season. So stay tuned for tomorrow's Outside Everyday post about measuring heights of trees from the Rogue River Watershed Council. And make sure to share your post if you liked it. And also, I've included a video in this week's resources that shows a bean seed germinating so that you can really see the difference between those first leaves and the second leaves like I talked about. Have fun!